Here's another reel-to-reel project. This one's an Ampex 2100 series. It's the 2165, I believe, specifically with the external walnut case. I've already downloaded the manual on it, so I'm ready to try to figure out what's wrong with this one. These can be a challenge to work on, but kind of fun. I've already got a old portable Sony down there. It's old enough that it's got vacuum tubes in it. And I've got a TIAC A4010S that is my main machine. But I picked this one up from my brother-in-law out in California. And he just wanted to show it to me. And I said, well, that's cool. Does it work? He said, don't think so. Last time he had it running, he said the belts he thought were bad. So, well, I'll take a look at this one, see if we can get it running for him. And that'll be hopefully not too much of a challenge. So let's see if we can get it out of the case and see what it needs. Okay, I did plug this in and turn it on. I had it plugged into the dim bulb tester, and I could tell the motor is turning inside. I think I hear a relay click too, but I noticed that I cannot engage the play. It seems to be very sticky. I don't know if I'm missing something or what, but I don't want to force anything, so I'm not going to push hard. The switches seem kind of sticky, so they probably need to be cleaned up. So I guess first things first is to start removing panels. Take these off, and it kind of exposes the take-up reel. And then this cover comes off. Gentle here, so that you can see the heads. And this one, I think, comes out too. Somehow, there it is. And I love the color. This just reminds me of mid-century. They used a lot of grays instead of the traditional black that you see today, but I've got a couple of pieces that have that kind of same light gray, dark gray color to them. Now I've noticed too that this is something you see in older vinyl, and this is kind of a plastic or vinyl right here. It's getting real sticky. Vinyl of this age just kind of starts outgassing some of the oils that are that's constructed from. It's a petrochemical product, so it does start getting sticky and oily. So, but this is easily cleaned up with any kind of degreasing detergent, and that's what I'll do eventually. So at some point in here there's some screws, and I need to look up on the manual of how to break into it, but this is the first step. Well, this play button was initially kind of locked up. It wouldn't move beyond about here. But I did eventually, just by kind of playing with it a little bit, get it moving again. It doesn't stay. I think there's probably a lock-in solenoid or something that does that. And then the fast forward moves now too. But when you turn it on, power here. Whoops. Okay. So you see this moving back and forth, the tape direction. So that solenoid's working. And I don't have a tape loaded up on it. Maybe I need to, but when you tell it to play, it does not move any of the reels. So I'm pretty sure the belts are completely gone in there. You can hear the fan or the motor turning, but that's about it. So time to dig deeper. Well, I want to document this before I get too far. Notice all the steel screws have this oxidation on them, and I don't know if it's just moisture or whatever that's gotten to them. Now here's one that I took out that I just took a brush to, and that's looking nice and clean, so I'll probably do that to all of them. I'm just using a little wire brush on my Dremel to kind of clean them up after I pull them out. Okay, there's 4 little Allen screws and 4 Phillips screws that go on the front of this and hold this little thing on. You can kind of wiggle it out of there according to what the manual said, and I tried that and it worked. And here's the guts, and ooh, look at that right there. That's what they call melted belt. Look at that. You can even see that it was, there's pieces of it. Here's a piece here. Looks like little rat turds or something, but that's actually pieces of the belt. It's melted all over the place down here. It's pretty solid, so hopefully it'll, there's a big piece right there on that pulley. Hopefully that'll be able to peel that out of there without too much trouble. So definitely need some belts. I can go ahead and get those on order. And then I'll try to extract the thing out of the case here, and so I get to those belts. Maybe I'll just read in the manual and see what's the best way to get to them. That's next up. Actually, here's a belt that's still actually not too bad. The one that does the tape counter. Now, I got the works out of the case and pulled the back cover off, and you can see a lot of the melted belt is kind of stuck onto the bottom of it. I'll clean that out. And I'm seeing a lot of corrosion on anything that's kind of steel or mild steel. So I'm not really sure what's causing that, but it cleans up really easily just with a little bit of alcohol or the wire brush, so I'll continue cleaning that up and seeing how to get to the mechanism here to change the belts. You can see where the belt right here is kind of melted on, and I'm hoping I can clean up those little grooves with some type of scrub thing, little scrubby sponge, or maybe steel wool if I need to. Let's see what it requires. But lots of melted there we go. That's some more of it. I'll continue pulling all this belt off of here, trying to clean up everything and get some new belts ordered. Yeah, cleaning up corrosion and moving ahead with disassembly a little bit. I pulled all the Molex connectors off and extracted the power supply unit. It just comes out with one piece. It gives better access to the tape drive mechanism and some of the electronics controls. Already sprayed some fader deoxit in this pot, and I will use regular deoxit on some of the contacts here on these wafer switches and exercise them and make sure they're in good shape. That's probably all I need to do to this. The electronics here. Power supply does have some electrolytics. I may go in and measure the ESR on those and see how they look. They are pretty old. Might be worth trying to replace them. I'll check. And this looks like some kind of capacitor maybe too. I don't know. I'll check that out too. But digging down to it, getting the reels cleaned up, got most of the old melted belt goo off of it. But I still got to get down into here. Probably have to pull the motor off to get to the pulley on that and clean it up. And these little reel tables. So that's what's going up. I'll use the deoxit fader and the deoxit D5 to the fader on the pots, and D5 on all the wafer switches. So I got them all cleaned up. Hopefully that'll prevent any noise or issues with them once this gets reassembled. Disassembled things a little bit more to be able to get to, primarily to this right here. This is one of the wheels that one of the belts wraps around, and you can see this is going to be the real issue here. Is that belt decided to disintegrate right in the groove of this pulley or wheel. Now this belt material is just rock hard, and let's see, it just kind of snaps and breaks. This is all the remnants I've gotten out so far, and it's really stuck in there really well. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to get it out of there. I might use one of these little sharp tools to try to dig into it and remove it. And I have found that I was trying with regular alcohol, but it doesn't really dissolve this belt stuff. But I found that acetone does, and acetone doesn't seem to attack this plastic, so I think I'm safe at going at it with acetone. So that's what I might do. I've already tried it on some of the parts in here, and it seems to have cleaned it up quite a bit. Now I'll need to pull the motor out too, because it's got a pulley on the other side of this that also has some belt embedded in it, so that'll need to be cleaned out. So this is just going to be laborious. See what I can do to get that unstuck. Alright, got that wheel cleaned up. Here's the groove that had all the belt residue in it. It's all been removed with lots of scraping with this tool here, and a lot of acetone on Q-tips, and it's all cleaned up. I lubricated the axle, got it back in. I may treat this tire right here with a little rubber renew, and I pulled that one out too when lubricated the axle, so it's good to go. Same thing, the tire may treat with some rubber renew. It feels pretty good, but the reels seem okay, no problem with them. So I think I'm about ready to go ahead and pull the motor out and try to maybe lubricate the bushings forward and aft, and pull off the belt residue that's on the pulley of that. That's probably the next thing up. And I just ordered some belts for this, so hopefully they'll come fairly soon, and maybe we'll get this thing running. Okay, I pulled the 3 screws out that hold the motor, and here's some some belt residue still stuck on here, and the pulleys. Now it looks like these little motor mounts, little rubber motor mounts, are pretty hard and have failed too. So I'll see if I can find something that matches up with that, and get an order in for those. In the meantime, I will try to break loose the rest of this disintegrated belt on the pulleys and get them cleaned up. Alright, I got all the belt residue off of the pulleys. A bunch was stuck right in there, and then stuck right in here too. Two different belts. Some of the coating has come off on that pulley. That may introduce a little bit of flutter in the playback and recording. Don't know. I think that controls the speed of the capstans. Probably the best thing to do would be to replace this if we could find a replacement part, but for something what 60 years old, probably not going to be possible. Hopefully that'll play okay. I still haven't pulled these off to get to the motor to lubricate it, but I'm looking at doing that. But then down in here underneath the motor, here's another pulley with some stuck-on belt. And that pulley is actually pretty locked up. It won't turn all the way, so I need to investigate that. While waiting for the replacement belts and motor mounts to arrive, I thought I'd open up the power supply here and maybe try to check the condition of those electrolytic capacitors and do a visual check on the power supply, see what it looks like inside. So let's do that. Okay, I've got this taken apart so that I could get to the bottom of those electrolytic capacitors. And everything I've measured has been fairly low ESR, like 0.05 or below, which is pretty low for these this size and voltage. So I think all those capacitors are good. This is a single section. This one has three in it. Three different capacitors. So with the low ESR, I think I'm just going to, for now, put that back together and see if the power supply has any ripple on it once we fire it up. But I think they'll probably be okay. Probably if I was wanting to make this thing rock solid and like sell it as a completely refurbished one, which it's not mine, I wouldn't do that, but might replace these. Find replacements, but I'm not sure how much my brother-in-law is even going to use this, and so I think I'm going to wait and see how those caps perform before swapping them out. May eventually swap them out anyway if they start we get a lot of ripple on the power, but let's wait and see on that. Alright, I got my grommet order in here for the motor mount, and these are going to work perfectly. These are for apparently I got these from VM Audio Enthusiasts. If you need these things, give these guys a call or look them up on the internet. And there's the actual part number, 125106. I ordered 10 of them. And this is what you get, and they're like an exact match for their originals, which are getting pretty old and brittle by now. This one's not too bad. This one is, you can see it's actually, it came apart, and it's, it doesn't fold anymore, it just breaks. So as these things age, you probably should replace them, and at, what are these, $2 a piece? Yeah, order yourself a new set of those. So I'll go ahead, and I've got one in already, but I'll put the other two in so that I can get the motor properly mounted and nicely isolated again with brand new motor mounts. Alright, I got all those new motor mounts, these temporarily installed, and the motor assembly back in. I'll pull that back out when I get the belts to replace them. But so here's the VM Audio Enthusiasts part number again for these things, and here's what they're called in the Ampex parts list. So if you need new shock mounts for the motor, you order these from again, EM Audio Enthusiasts. There's his website. So Gary Storton, good people there. Alright, just received the belt order from West Coast Belts, and I got them on. I didn't record it because it was pretty fiddly and I needed both hands and I wasn't really sure what I was doing. But basically what you have to do is you have to take this unit here off also. Well, the motor has to come off, and there's enough wire length here to kind of flip it out of the way. This little thing has to come off too. That's what holds the little idler wheel reel motor reels on. It goes up and down. Let's see, engages them. This unit has to come off too. There's 3 screws, 1, 2, and a third one buried down here. So that comes off so that you can release the capstans right down there, because you got to wrap that belt around the capstans. So this actually functions as a capstan keeper. These 2 screws hold it down, hold the 2 capstans down, so that has to come off so you can get that belt on. That wraps around up to a little thing here. Let me flip it over and I'll show you. Now we're looking at the top side. Here's the main capstan drive belt, and you can see this little mechanism that's rocking back and forth. That's what moves up and down to change the speed. So there's 3 different areas on that drive mechanism that the belt can change to change speed. It's just kind of like a 10-speed bike. That's kind of how it works. And then there's another black belt here, this one here, which kind of attaches to the very top pulley, or bottom pulley on the motor. No, that's actually the top one. It's right here. Right there. And that wraps around these 2 little kind of idler wheels, and that rocks back and forth and drives the take-up reels, either forward or reverse, depending on which direction that the motor's turning. So I believe that's how it works. So once I install the power supply and get everything back together properly, I'll have to power it up and see what happens. Well, one thing I wanted to mention too, this little rod right here that attaches to this this plunger here, it connects to a little switch mechanism right down here. Now, there's a little ball joint on the end of this rod that connects through a piece of metal and into this little piece of plastic. And if I can reach through here and grab this, you can see this is the directional, what direction the thing's going in. You can see how it flips that back and forth. So you need to get that inserted properly, or this mechanism won't switch back and forth. Alright, I think I've got all the belts on properly according to that diagram, at least according to the way I've read it. So we got the red main belt right here that operates the capstans, and then the black belt which operates these little idler wheels, which also rubs against the take-up and reel, and the what do you call this, the feed reel, I guess, to operate it in either direction. So here we go. Let's turn it on and see what happens. Okay. There's a little automatic switching there. But it looks like the belts are turning. The motor's turning. Let's see what happens when we hit play. Play. Fast forward. Making some racket. Not sure why. I guess we'll have to investigate that, but it looks like things are turning the right way. Now here's another issue to deal with. This piece right here, you can see that that used to have something in it. Like a little piece of here is the other side. I don't know what that material is or was, but it's real rough now. And that rubs against the wheel, the take-up wheel right here. And with it being real rough, it makes a lot of noise. And this is really hard and worn out. And just in the small amount of time that I've been using this one has completely disappeared. It fell off and it disappeared. So what I think I will do is go ahead and order a set of rubber O-rings and see if I can get an O-ring to fit in there, because I'm sure this part is no longer available. So I'll try that in the next few days and see if that seems to work out. This has a little friction surface right here, which applies a certain amount of torque to the take-up reels so that they are allowed to slip. So I think it'd be okay if that's a rubber part. I'll give it a try. Alright, I got my little O-ring order in here, different sizes. And I think what I'm going to do is try this size right here. It's 23rd 64ths. And that's what's on that one right there. And it looks to be the same size as kind of the original piece, so it's all hardened and cracked. So let me give this a try, see if that works. Alright, got this put back together, and here's what it sounds like moving in the first forward direction with the new O-ring installed, and that's turning with plenty of torque, so I think that's going to work well. Now here's what, when I push down, that's the original, that's the new. Original, new. So in reverse, it's still working on the original little ring. So this new O-ring seems to be working just fine, so I think I'm going to put that on the reverse drive mechanism too, and quieten that down. Let's do that. Alright, I got the new O-ring on, and that was as simple as just taking off this old, looks like kind of a phenolic or something. I'm not sure what that was, but it's pretty brittle now. And then just putting a little O-ring on it. And it goes right there. And this little piece just kind of flips over there in the way to hold that down. And that wheel goes back on. I had to take this off just to get access. This is actually the surface that O-ring will rub against right here to turn the take-up and take-up reel. You need a direction. And you replace this little thing, which kind of pushes down on the those plates when you go into play mode. Pretty simple mechanism. There we go. Alright, turn it over and see if it works. Okay. Let's see. Reverse, forward, reverse. Okay. Both directions seem to work right. Nice and quiet now. Reversing directions manually. Good. I think we should put some tape on this and see if it makes any noise. Alright, I did put a reel of tape on the tape player, and it moves tape perfectly, forward and backward, fast forward and fast rewind. So the transport mechanism is, I think, 100%. The issue is I'm getting no sound out at all, and I don't think I'm even getting any sound in. When I put a source in, I'm not seeing anything indicated on the VU meters. So well, that's the issue, and I think the problem is probably some of these capacitors here. Some of these old electrolytics, or some of them are directly in the sound path. In fact, this one here, I'll show you on the schematic. This little guy right here, 27 microfarad electrolytic. You can see it's right there in the sound. That's where the sound comes in. Yeah. Now also looks like this computer is kind of falling asleep here. Okay, now it's waking up. Here is like the maybe the right input coming from one of these, and there's the microphone input, and here is the input off of the read heads. You see all those go into this little network right here and through a switch, but all three of them go through that one electrolytic capacitor. So that's bad. You're going to get no sound at all, and that's the what I'm seeing right now on either channel. So I ordered a set of capacitors from Mauser to replace all the electrolytics in the tape player, or the tape machine, tape recorder. There's not a lot of them. There's these, there's a couple more on this board, a couple more on this board, but getting access to those boards might be the issue. There's also a few in the power supply, which if needed, if I get this thing working here at home, I'll go in and replace those too. But let me flip this over here right now. So I popped off this plate right here because I could see that there were screws on underneath here to pull this, what the manual calls a picture frame. So I think this is also preventing me to get access to some of these boards down here. So I'm going to try taking out the picture frame and see if I can get better access to some of the circuitry. You can see here's some of those electrolytics right down here on that middle board. So those are going to be tough to get to, but I'll figure out a way. Well, that helps a little bit. At least I got this separate from the transport. So I can put this up here. It's still connected by a wire here, so I can't completely get them separated. That wire seems to come up here somewhere. Maybe right there. I have to desolder that to separate it. So I think I'll leave that as is for now. But I get better access to the capacitors. This little frame right here, I believe, is removable too, so maybe I'll look at popping that off, and maybe I'll be able to get to some of these that are buried down on that upper board. That'll be probably the hardest ones to get to, is those right in there, so maybe taking that off would be the ticket. Alright, for the first cap pulled off, it's supposed to be a 27 microfarad at 3 volts. Came out of right here on what they call the lower board. And I tried to measure the capacitance. At one time I could get about 12 microfarads, but then it shows nothing. And on the ESR meter, it reads infinite ESR. So that one is definitely dead in the doornail. So if that's an indication of what they're all going to be like, probably the decision to buy all new electrolytics was a good one. So I'll start popping in new ones and seeing where we get. Alright, just put this back on. I had to remove this plate to get down to some of the caps, especially on this upper board. The other ones I was able to remove with, or replace without that, taking that off. So I have replaced all the electrolytic capacitors on this inner electronics boards. There's the stack of bad ones, mostly bad. There's a few that were probably okay, but they're all the same age, so they all probably should go. So hopefully that will fix the no audio on the preamp board. And well, let's put it back together and see what happens. Okay, got the recap boards all back installed with the power supply and audio source coming in. And partial success. See the VU meters as I crank the volume, input volume up and down. You can see the VU meters going up and down. So at least we're getting signal in. So I'm pretty confident we'll be able to play a tape and hear what it sounds like. I'm ready to give that a try. Let's see what happens. Alright, success. Alright, hearing music coming out. Went from no sound to beautiful sound. This thing sounds great. As good as my old TAC over there. And it runs in both directions. Here's a direction switch. There's running forward and running backwards. And then let's see, we're still in reverse, so let me go ahead. Let's see, there's fast forward. And then rewind. Oop. Yeah, rewind's still a little slow. To check the friction on some of the mechanisms there, but it is going.
There ain't no night, there is no day. In this galaxy far, far away. Get on this love.
So what I'll have to still try is do a recording. Make sure the bias circuitry is still working. It'll erase and record. But at least we're getting sound out of it. And now that I've gone through most of this tape, I found that this does rewind at the right speed when it's got more tape on the reel. So it may just be a tape type of thing. Maybe it just slows down as it gets to the end of the reel, so you don't get a lot of flapping. So, looks like tape movement is working just fine. Sounds great. Time to start putting it back together. Alright, starting to reassemble this thing now. I got the back put back on and all the covers. But before I put the front cover on, I need to, right here and here there was some orange paint that has chipped off. You can see it just falling off. And that shines through the faceplate that goes over this to show you which direction the tape movement is going. So I need to find some paint about that color and see if I can repaint those little spots. So I'll do that before I put the front cover back on. Make it look original. I found some fluorescent orange that I had. Bright neon color. Rust-Oleum that seems to be pretty close. I'll do a couple of coats of that and see if that'll do the trick. There we go. The Ampex 2100 series is back in its beautiful wood case. Looking pristine, just like it did back in 1966, and playing again also. This thing has feet on the bottom, like it's meant to be laid down like that. But I think all tape players should be played like this, upright, and it plays that way too. So it threads properly and everything, automatically threading. You just kind of wrap the tape right up here, and then the take up reel automatically threads. It's playing backwards right now. I'll switch it here. So there we go. I think this is just about done. I'm still going to do a recording test with it, and I'll probably let it play for several hours to make sure there's no issues. But it's sounding great and looking beautiful, and I think this one's done. So here you go, Peter. Your old Ampex is running again. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.